Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we will be going over my complete horror movie collection on Blu-ray. Now, if you missed the first part of this video where I go over my limited edition 4Ks and Blu-rays, I will be sure to link it in the description box down below. But in this video, we will be going over all my standard edition keepcase Blu-rays and even some slipcover editions that I missed in the last video. So, you're not going to want to miss this one. Stay tuned. Now, let us begin with our first title, which is not a 4K or a Blu-ray, but a DVD, and one of the best DVD sets, in my opinion, which is the Nightmare on Elm Street collection, the New Line Platinum series, with all 7 original Nightmare on Elm Street films, plus the Nightmare on Elm Street encyclopedia, including the labyrinth, the interactive game that no one could beat, and that was the only way you could access those special features. This original Nightmare on Elm Street New Line Platinum series collection that was released, late 90s, early 2000s. I remember this, before the Halloween collection, before the Friday the 13th collection, before Scream Factory, there was this New Line Platinum series, all featuring the original poster art in this nice snapper case editions. Very simple, basic designs here, but like I say, you got that nice little original poster painting there, okay, and then a description here. And this is all included for all 7 films, so let me just show you what the posters look like. Okay, so here is Nightmare 2, Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare 3, Dream Warriors. Now, my personal favorite sequel is Nightmare 4, The Dream Master, with the cockroach kill. That's my favorite. And then part 5, The Dream Child. This one is kind of slowly creeping up on me because it has a lot of cool style. That's the one thing that the Nightmare on Elm Street films had, is that fantasy style, going for it. And then here is Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. And this also comes with 3D glasses, the red and blue. Even comes with 2 3D glasses there with the Nightmare on Elm Street logo. All right, so you just put on your 3D glasses and watch Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Actually, I think it's only during that one scene at the end when she's going through that maze to kill him that when she puts on her glasses, then you put on your glasses. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I love this one. Now this one, brings everyone back together once again. John Saxon, Heather Langenkamp, and even Wes Craven, written and directed by. So this one is a very good one. 10 years after the original. The first meta, one of the very first meta horror movies, the movie within the movie. So I love Wes Craven's New Nightmare a lot. Okay, and also included is a booklet there. Production notes, all that fun stuff there, stills, all that good stuff. And as I was talking about earlier is the Nightmare series encyclopedia, which includes, Welcome to Prime Time, a documentary exploring the nightmares and the labyrinth. Weave through this interactive environment and unlock the mysteries of the franchise. Which if you YouTube that, I think there's a whole, someone getting through the labyrinth. I mean, I remember this was just like so annoying trying to access the special features, and if you got something wrong, it takes you back to the beginning. So it's like good idea, terrible execution. So there's commentaries included, and if you have the patience to get through that labyrinth, you could try it out and get all those special features. So in conclusion, that is the Nightmare on Elm Street collection, the New Line Platinum series, which I have held on to this whole time since 1999, never got rid of it. Still, in my opinion, one of the best releases, physical media releases of, horror movie collections. Even though it's not perfect, it's just, I guess it has that nostalgia factor to me. Also, this DVD package is just so much better than this blah Blu-ray that they did that just, you know, includes all the films in this case here, multi-pack case with 2 films on 1 disc, which I don't really like. I don't mind. And then there's bonus disc, all new, Fear himself, blah blah blah, Crimes of Freddy Krueger. So I didn't get rid of this. I never really use it. Now I kind of want to use it because it's like, you know, I can't find Nightmare on streaming and I kind of want to watch it. You know how that goes. And that is the Nightmare on Elm Street series collection. So let us move on. Now that we went over the Nightmare on Elm Street collection on DVD and Blu-ray, let us go over some of my slipcover editions that I may have missed in the last video. So we started with one of my favorite horror movie collections on physical media, but now we're gonna go to, you know, one of my favorite, if not my favorite horror movie of all time, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now I did show you the 4K edition in the last video, but I forgot that I had the Dark Sky edition, the Ultimate Dark Sky edition on Blu-ray, and I have it on the Steelbook DVD, which I just, you know, I know this is a Blu-ray video, but then I'm going to show you the Blu-ray and then say, why didn't I show you the Steelbook? So here's the Steelbook from the Dark Sky Texas Chainsaw Massacre edition before it was released again and again. And I even have this slipcover which came with one of the releases, and you know, I just kind of wanted to show you this Texas Chainsaw Massacre Dark Sky edition, which all these special features are on every single edition released afterwards. The original, restored, remastered. I like, you know, I like how this looks. That's why I still have it here. So this is a cool little release, Dark Sky Films. Inside there is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original from 1974. And then we have, you know, one of these sequels here on Blu-ray, Texas Chainsaw 3D with that lithograph there. Sorry for the glare, but you do see Leatherface kind of revving his chainsaw there. And I kind of, you know, like this one. It's so bad it's good, you know, with Alexandra Daddario and Trey Songz. And I like this one because it like connected it to the original. They show clips of the original in the beginning of the movie, so I kind of just always like that. And then people wanted to do like continuity math and say, no, this it doesn't right because the dates are wrong on the gravestones. But it's just like, now you want to take these movies seriously and do the continuity and all that stuff. So I do have this Texas Chainsaw 3D edition, and this was the last one that went to the movie theater, because then they released the Netflix one, which was really bad. This one was better than that Netflix one. Texas Chainsaw 3D. And just quickly, I want to show you the Texas Chainsaw remake from 2003. This, once again, a New Line Platinum series. I may have shown you this before, but, you know, once again, I'm showing you all this stuff, and then I'm going to be like, why didn't I show them this? This whole chainsaw edition here, and it even comes with, like, crime scene photographs. So, once again, you know, not my favorite. I like the 2006 one with Jordana Brewster, The Beginning. I like that one better. But, you know, this is a really cool edition here. So I just wanted to show you this really quickly from 2003, 20 years old already, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake with Jessica Biel. Moving on is The Lords of Salem from Rob Zombie. I like this movie. You know, this is actually like one of Rob Zombie's better movies. This came out after Halloween 2, I believe. But this one didn't do anything. It just, you know, didn't, just came and went. But I like this one, you know, the record with the that music, you know, and they play the Velvet Underground. This one is kind of like a Rosemary's Baby, the Witch Coven, and Meg Foster is in this, Dee Wallace. But like I say, one of his better movies, and I kind of hope Rob Zombie comes back one day. Everyone's favorite, Sherry Moon Zombie, The Lords of Salem. Okay, from Francis Ford Coppola, we have Dementia 13, kind of one of these public domain films that you could find on every streaming service, on Tubi. And it's interesting because this is the collector's edition, the director's cut. And actually, the director's cut actually like eliminates some scenes. So if you could find it on Tubi, you're probably better off seeing like some extra scenes in there. But still, this is a nice little slipcover edition. And this is Francis Ford Coppola's first movie, you know, the director of The Godfather. And I also believe that this is a Roger Corman. Not too sure about that. It could be, because it's like AIP, anyway, something like that. The first film from director Francis Ford Coppola, Dementia 13. All right, we're going to the 80s with Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. It comes with a nice booklet in there starring Cassandra Peterson as Elvira. This one is funny. You used to watch this on like TV all the time, and you know, when she inherits that house, she goes to the town, and you know, she's like the fish out of water. She's dressed in all black, and she's like in that 50s Pleasantville town, and she does that flash dance, you know, What a Feeling, where she like pours the water on her, but it's all tar or something, oil. So this is a good one. And also Edie McClurg from Ferris Bueller is in this one, and she's like the villain. You know, she's the villain because you know, Elvira's in her town, and she's gonna, you know, ruin the town. This is a good one. And also this is a Roger Corman as well, like New World Pictures. I think this was the last New World Pictures movie that went to the theater. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. All right, we're coming into some contemporary horror movies with The Witch here. Now, once upon a time, A24 was considered, you know, the new wave of horror films, the new wave of indie films. And, you know, A24 is definitely rising to prominence. They're getting very popular. You know, Civil War in the theater right now, making a lot of money. But remember The Witch? This was one of those where everyone went to go see it because of the advertisements. And then they didn't know what they were in for. Like, they thought they were gonna see like something like Insidious or The Conjuring, and you know, they went and saw an A24 movie, and they were probably bored out of their mind and falling asleep in the theater, so on and so forth. But I like this one, The Witch, and this is also Robert Eggers. I believe he's coming out with a Nosferatu movie. I don't know if this guy did The Lighthouse or if I'm confusing another person. Anyway, The Witch. The Bitch. Crimson Peak from Guillermo del Toro. I like this one as well. It has that gothic haunted house vibe, and it's pretty gory too. There's some gory effects in here. But you also have Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston in this. And I remember liking this one. And this one just came out on like a Arrow 4K edition. But I got this original Blu-ray release with a slipcover, so I might have to give this one a good watch again. Is Crimson Peak. One of my favorite horror movies besides Texas Chainsaw Massacre was remade again in 2013, and they're just announcing another remake. This is the remake, Blair Witch. You know, one of my favorites is the Blair Witch Project from 1999, which completely changed, you know, the found footage genre. And also there was a sequel, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and that was another meta type of horror movie. And then, you know, 10 years later or whatever, 2013, they released this Blair Witch. Here is the Blair Witch Project on Blu-ray from 1999, and I always call this one, you know, one of the scariest movies ever. And you know, it's a love or hate movie. You either love it or you hate it. You're either into it or you're not into it. And like I say, completely changed the found footage genre, completely changed the horror movie genre. Here is the remake, Blair Witch, from 1999, the Blair Witch Project. And here we have one of the biggest flops of all time. I don't know if all time, but definitely a big flop. A lot of promotion, a lot of hype, and then a lot of flatline, which was Grindhouse, the double feature from Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. You know, Robert Rodriguez is Planet Terror and Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Two back-to-back movies. 3 hours of non-stop fun in the theater, and it completely fizzled. And I saw it so many times in the theater. I thought this was the best thing ever. And it really was, you had to be there. You had to be there. Grindhouse was the origin of Machete with Danny Trejo. They play the Machete trailer in the beginning. Planet Terror, the origin of the Thanksgiving movie from Eli Roth. They played the Thanksgiving trailer after Planet Terror. And there's 2 more trailers, Werewolf Women of the SS from Rob Zombie, and Don't from the Edgar Wright, the Shaun of the Dead people, which is my favorite trailer. I love that one. Don't. Thanksgiving is good as well. Thanksgiving is awesome. And the trailer was better than the actual movie, absolutely. And also, I forgot the Hobo with a Shotgun trailer, which was the Canadian trailer. And then they actually made a Hobo with a Shotgun with Rutger Hauer. From 2007, Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse. Okay, we got a few special editions to go through before we get to the keep cases. And another great horror film from the Criterion Collection is Rosemary's Baby, starring Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes from Roman Polanski. What can I say about Rosemary's Baby? Such a classic film. Based on the novel by Ira Levin, okay, as well as The Exorcist and Psycho. These are just some of the greatest horror films of all time. What have you done with his eyes? So this is a great movie here for all you witchcraft lovers. You love witchcraft movies. This is the ultimate right here, Rosemary's Baby. Maybe not strict horror movie, but this one is definitely a weird one. David Lynch's Eraserhead. While this one, is kind of like a love-hate movie. I remember just seeing this and you're watching it being like, what the hell am I watching? This one is just so weird. And the reason I'm bringing it out with the horror stuff, because it's just like, what is this movie? It's not a drama, it's not a comedy, it's not an action, it's not a suspense, but it's just so odd that you just have to list it in the horror section. A lot of David Lynch's movies are like that. Even Mulholland Drive, it's not a horror movie, but there's definitely some scary stuff that happens in there, like Mr. Winky and just odd stuff, which David Lynch is known for. A good midnight movie, a good cult classic here, Eraserhead. Okay, another movie which I consider a horror movie, but some people might not consider a horror movie, is The Silence of the Lambs, the 1991 Best Picture winner, starring Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. And the reason I call this a horror movie, the same thing with Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a very similar story. And if you've never seen this movie, I guess you had to have seen it in the 90s to really appreciate what it does here, because if you watch this movie now, you'll just be like, not necessarily bored, but you'll be like, okay, this is like a Law and Order episode or just another police procedural episode. But at the time, it was groundbreaking. The FBI catching this or using a killer to catch another killer. It was just a heavy, groundbreaking movie, heavy content at the time. So, and now you watch it and it's just like anything you see on TV. But before Silence of the Lambs was Michael Mann's Manhunter, which is the Red Dragon book. Red Dragon was remade in the early 2000s with Ed Norton. And remember Hannibal, which was the sequel, which came out in 2000 with Julianne Moore. But none of those had that impact like Silence of the Lambs did. Hello, Clarice. All right, we got 2 movies here, which once again, maybe not horror movies, but definite horror elements, and they are definitely talked about amongst horror fans and in the horror community. First, we have Deliverance with Burt Reynolds and Jon Voight. Squeal like a piggy. You can consider this a horror movie because it's just very real. Kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where a group of guys just go on a fishing trip. They are just, ambushed by the local hillbillies. and then it's kind of a fight for survival. So this one is a really good one for all you adventure junkies, and like I say, a very suspenseful movie, a fight for survival in the wilderness. Not a monster, not a beast, it's man who you are fighting against. Okay, and another one we have is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane with Joan Crawford and Bette Davis. And this is another one, camp classic, where one child star is like kept prisoner in her home by her sister, her jealous sister. And then, a lot of just weird stuff going on here. And mostly this is just known for the, career killers of just two well-known actresses here, Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, in this campy B picture. So really, that is the essence of why this film is popular. Now it's time to finally head into the Keep Case Edition, our standard edition Blu-rays. And our last title was a Joan Crawford title, so we have a few more Joan Crawford titles to go through, including Straight Jacket. Now, I may not have much to say about these Joan Crawford movies. However, this particular movie I remember specifically from the John Waters movie Serial Mom, because one of the characters, played by Matthew Lillard, works at a video store where he always watches horror films. There's a clip of him watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's another clip of him watching Straight Jacket with Joan Crawford walking into a bedroom with the axe and cutting off someone's head. So that is pretty much what I know this movie for. Warning, Straight Jacket vividly depicts axe murders. But another Joan Crawford movie I have here is I Saw What You Did, and I Know Who You Are. And this is a William Castle, and I remember one of the girls in this movie, but I can't really remember her right off the top of my head. And introducing Andy Garrett, I don't know. The chick that's in this movie, you may remember her from like 60s and 50s TV. Anyway, so we have two Joan Crawford titles here, Straight Jacket and I Saw What You Did. Okay, and now we're gonna stick to the old school theme, and one of my favorites here, this is a double feature of Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. Tales from the Crypt, based off of the comic book series. Now, before the TV show, before the HBO TV show, before those movies, Demon Knight, Bordello of Blood, there was this film, the Tales from the Crypt, and I know that not Joan Crawford, but Joan Collins is in Tales from the Crypt, and you have 4 stories, and one of these includes that Santa Claus story. So it's the 4 stories, and the people are hearing the 4 stories from the Crypt Keeper. And also in here is Vault of Horror, another anthology film, 3 or 4 different stories. So this is a good one to watch. Tales from the Crypt from the 70s, which I really enjoy, and a really good ending too. So be sure to check this one out. Okay, and another classic from the Warner Archive collection is The Thing from Another World. Now, we all know the John Carpenter classic 80s film The Thing, and that is a remake off of this movie, The Thing from Another World, from Howard Hawks, starring James Arness as The Thing. So if you want to go a little old school, the 80s John Carpenter, The Thing with Kurt Russell is very well known for its special effects. So here you get the original The Thing, and also remember there's like a 2011 version with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So here is The Thing from Another World. Okay, now let's kind of switch it up and go a little more contemporary here, and we have Lars von Trier's The House That Jack Built, the director's cut, and this has Matt Dillon and Uma Thurman is in this as well. Lars von Trier, who we all know from Melancholia and Antichrist. Here is his slasher film. Also includes the theatrical cut and the director's cut. Kind of one of these black comedies. Like, you're not supposed to be laughing because it's so horrific, but you just can't help yourself but laugh because it's so ridiculous. Especially like the picnic scene, and just his over obsessive compulsiveness here when he's like trying to clean up a murder scene. So this is like another one. It's just a ridiculous movie. If you feel like screaming, you definitely should. The House That Jack Built. And another contemporary from Steven Soderbergh is Unsane with Claire Foy. Might not have much to say about this movie, but I know that it was shot on an iPhone, so that I could that's one I could say about this movie. Shot on an iPhone, and I know it just takes place in, like, you know, a crazy house where it's like padded walls, white walls, and that's all I could really say about this movie, Unsane. Okay, another old school movie is The Legend of Hell House. I can't really say much about this movie except that I do like it. It is good, and we were talking about Grindhouse earlier before, and that fake movie trailer Don't. And this is, I believe this is like the inspiration of that movie. If you could see, it just looks very similar. And I know the opening when they're trying to like enter the house, they're behind those gates. Anyway, so here's just another 70s British horror movie, The Legend of Hell House. Okay, and we got another sort of double feature here. First, from the Warner Archive collection is Village of the Damned, and the sequel, The Children of the Damned. Now, I love the 90s Village of the Damned, directed by John Carpenter, starring Kirstie Alley and Christopher Reeve. I love that movie, grew up with that movie. So I finally just added the original 60s version. And also it says here, beware the stare that will paralyze the will of the world. And that's a funny thing about this movie. Like, the 90s movie had those awesome special effects with the eyes that just shot out at you. But here it's like freeze frames. I mean, they have like a still shot and it's just stuck there. So I mean, you know, back in the 60s, they couldn't tell that it was a freeze frame, but now in the 2024, we could most definitely tell about the dated special effects and technical effects in Village of the Damned. Still a great movie. And then The Children of the Damned is pretty much a rehash of the first, except it's like all inclusive. You have an Asian child, you have a black child, so it's just like the diversity Village of the Damned. Earlier, we talked about Crimson Peak and how I think that's one of the best horror movies post 2010. And this film is one of my favorite horror movies ever. And I always feel it's one of the last great American horror films from 2005 from Rob Zombie. Is The Devil's Rejects on the Blu-ray here. I love this movie. This is a sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, and I think it's just unfortunate that House of a Thousand Corpses is the one that's getting all the merchandising and the Halloween Horror Nights house, you know, because this is the movie. This is the best one. This is Rob Zombie's best film, where he takes those characters from The Devil's Rejects and just puts it in a more 70s setting. It's definitely more realistic. And also William Forsythe as Sheriff John Quincy Wydell. I love his performance here. I love this movie so much. One of my favorite horror movies ever. Rob Zombie's best film, The Devil's Rejects. I don't know if people like this movie or they don't like this movie, but I like this movie. It's from Nicholas Winding Refn, the director of Drive with Ryan Gosling. Here comes the Neon Demon with Elle Fanning. And the way I could describe this movie is if you like The Craft and Heathers, it's kind of that type of vibe. It's just this witchy horror type of vibe, and models and actresses in LA. I like this movie a lot. The Neon Demon, maybe so bad it's good. Just great visuals, and I like Elle Fanning. You know, I really just started to like Elle Fanning a lot after watching this movie. So I enjoy this movie a lot. Here is The Neon Demon from Nicholas Winding Refn. So right now we're gonna stay on the modern side of things. Now, one classic horror film, The Evil Dead, may not be my favorite, but I definitely appreciate, you know, the frenetic vibe to it. And one of Sam Raimi's films that I really enjoy is Drag Me to Hell with Alison Lohman and Justin Long. Incredible ending, love this ending. And this is another one, just a frenetic, loud, crazy movie. You got a talking goat. You got the banker in here, Alison Lohman, who I guess a woman comes in, you know, she's getting foreclosed on her house, and she doesn't do anything to help her, so she places a curse on her. And yeah, I like this movie a lot. Drag Me to Hell. Okay, another 2000s movie that I enjoyed. It kind of gets weird reviews. You know, some people like it, some people don't like it, but I remember enjoying this one, The Ruins, and I believe this was from 2009 or 2010. A good scene of, I guess someone's leg gets infected, and I remember they have to like break the leg and they're throwing a rock down on the leg. I remember that. So I haven't seen this movie in a while, but I do remember enjoying it, The Ruins. Now, earlier we talked about the Blair Witch Project and how it revitalized the horror genre and the found footage genre. And from 2007 was a sort of Blair Witch-esque movie, which is Paranormal Activity. I remember liking this one very much because, you know, I love the Blair Witch Project. So this was just an updated version of it where these two, Mika and Katie, this married couple living at home, are experiencing some entities in their house. So they set up the cameras all around their house to capture, you know, what's going on in there. And this one, remember, it was like requested to be shown in your city. And this is the start of those reaction trailers to see the people in the theater, you know, screaming and reacting and all that stupid stuff. And who knows how many Paranormal Activity movies they came out with already. I know there's like 5, maybe even 7 films. So it's crazy. But the first one, I remember the first one, I really enjoyed this one a lot. Paranormal Activity. Okay, and earlier I did talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so I just wanted to show you some of the keep cases I have here. Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which is definitely what I consider probably one of the worst ones. You know, just this one kind of just does nothing for me. And here's one of my favorites. I was talking about this one, The Beginning, from 2006 with Jordana Brewster. I enjoy this one much more than that 2003 version, and even Part 2, all the other sequels, this is definitely my favorite one. Okay, now we talked about the Blair Witch Project completely changing the horror genre, and I feel about this way about our next movie, which from 1996 is Wes Craven's Scream, the movie that completely changed the slasher genre. You know, after Scream came out, then we had the Scary Movie series, and no one found these movies scary anymore. They just found them funny. And even Scream, you know, brought the comedic element into it. So, but once again, Scream had that, you know, Dawson's Creek vibe, you know, one of the first to do it, as well as I Know What You Did Last Summer, and the sequel followed up Scream 2. And then, of course, my favorite sequel is Scream 4. I love this one a lot. I don't have Scream 3 because, you know, that one is considered the worst sequel, but I've talked about how, you know, time has passed, and now after Scream 5 and Scream 6, we could look back at Scream 3 and be like, hey, it's not as bad as we thought. But I haven't added it to the collection yet because it's on streaming all the time, and I'm kind of good with just having Scream 3 on streaming and, you know, watching Parker Posey do her one-liners, and that's always good. So, from 1996 is Wes Craven's Scream. All right, and staying on the topic of serial killers and true crime is Natural Born Killers from Oliver Stone with Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis. Maybe not a direct horror movie, but some crazy stuff going on here that horror fans should check out, true crime fans should check out. Famously written by Quentin Tarantino, and famously, I guess, disliked, or he at least doesn't like the I Love Mallory scene, which I love that scene. That's the greatest scene, right? But here from the 90s, 1993, 1994, is Natural Born Killers. One of my favorite series here, maybe not the best sequels, but we're talking about Psycho, Norman Bates. And here we got Psycho 4, The Beginning, which was a made-for-TV movie with Henry Thomas from E.T. and Olivia Hussey from Romeo and Juliet. So this is good. If you like that series, Bates Motel, you should give Psycho 4 a watch because it kind of, delves into that teenage Norman Bates and his relationship with his mother, and what went wrong. And also the remake from 1998, So Bad It's Good. My favorite here is Psycho from Gus Van Sant with Anne Heche and Vince Vaughn. Once again, a shot-by-shot remake. This one was the first to do it from 1998. It got so much flack for doing it, and now it's just common practice to remake scenes and reuse dialogue and redo the shots and all that stuff. So Gus Van Sant took a lot of heat for this. Once again, maybe not the greatest movie ever, but it's still Psycho. So here it is from 1998. Now, speaking of remakes, I'm kind of surprised that this movie got a remake. The Slumber Party Massacre. Here is the original 80s version. I think this is the from 82. And what's interesting about this one is it's written and directed by a woman, or written and directed by women. Got Amy Jones, who directed this movie. So, a lot of talk about these 80s slasher movies they're just exploitative of women, showing their breasts and their butt and all that stuff. And, just the killer only focusing on killing women. So Amy Jones puts all that to rest here in her Slumber Party Massacre. And this one is a great movie. It does have a sequel, which is kind of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's just over the top, and I don't like it. It has that phallic electric guitar. And then part 3, which supposedly takes it back normal again. But I haven't seen that one too many times. But the original 80s version, The Slumber Party Massacre, a great slasher movie, highly watchable. And another movie that was remade with Ryan Reynolds, if you could believe that, was the Amityville Horror. And here is the 70s version with Margot Kidder and James Brolin. And I remember this one being like so scary when I first watched it, but you watch it now, it doesn't really hit you. Like, this one gets kind of like bad reviews. But it's still a good one, and this one has like a lot of sequels, right? There's like at least 4 real ones, and then who knows how many sequels. Like, people just take that Amityville and they could just make their own movie, like Amityville Bigfoot, Amityville UFO, Amityville Shark, who knows. But here is the original Amityville Horror, based on the true story and the book. I tried reading the book, and it's a pretty bad read. But this is a good movie from the 70s, the Amityville Horror. All right, we're going to go over some more 80s cheese like the Slumber Party Massacre. And here is Prom Night with Jamie Lee Curtis and Leslie Nielsen. This is another one, a good disco soundtrack. Also remade as a PG-13 remake. I remember kind of liking that remake for a PG-13 one. And so here is the original Prom Night. And also Witchboard. This is another one too. It at least has one sequel, and this one has what's her name, Tawny Katan in this, and also the TTFN chick. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she's in this too. And I know that she's in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. I was just kind of watching that. She kind of pops up in those 80s and 90s films. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but here is Witchboard. Okay, and on the topic of Amityville Horror and ghosts, here's another one, The Entity with Barbara Hershey. And this is a weird one where this woman gets raped by a ghost. So this is like a weird one. Famously, Inglourious Bastards, the Quentin Tarantino movie, used some of the score from The Entity. Like when she's getting attacked, that's the score that they use in Inglourious Bastards. So I haven't seen this movie too many times. Maybe I got to give it a watch again. But here with Barbara Hershey is The Entity. Okay, we got some more movies. I don't really have much to say about them, but I have them in my collection. Is The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane with Jodie Foster and Martin Sheen. Jodie Foster is a little girl all alone, and then Martin Sheen is like the older, teenager, young adult who goes over, and he knows that something is wrong. Like he knows she's not alone, or something to that effect. So this one is pretty cool. The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. Also, A Bay of Blood from Mario Bava, one of these Giallo films, and I believe this famously is from like Friday the 13th or Friday the 13th, would emulate nearly a decade later, so that's why I picked this up. And also from Mario Bava is The Whip and the Body. Don't have much to say about this, but I remember liking it. It's kind of one of these sex movies, the whip and the body, and getting sexual gratification from being whipped. I don't know, but that's, I believe, what it's about. All right, and on the topic of Giallo, we have another one which is from Lucio Fulci, the New York Ripper. And I believe I just saw The Beyond, and that's a Lucio Fulci movie, and I kind of hated it. And I hate this one too, The New York Ripper. This, I think, is a blind buy movie, where I bought this, just everyone's like, oh, The New York Ripper, blah, blah, blah. And, it's a good poster. But I saw this movie and I hate it because this guy is doing like, he stalks his victims with a duck noise. So it's like, wah, 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 wah. It's annoying. It's not scary. So I don't know why I still have this movie, but I do. It's The New York Ripper. But another kind of annoying movie is The Town That Dreaded Sundown. This one has a remake as well. Now this one, I guess it's a true story. It plays itself like a true story, like a documentary about this killer in Texarkana. And this is like the Friday the 13th Part 2, Potato Sack. And that's really, it's just kind of another slasher movie, a famous trombone kill. He like takes a trombone and sticks a knife at the end of it, and he's like, bah, 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 bah. Anyway, from the 70s, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Okay, we're kind of finishing up here, so let's lighten the mood a little bit, shall we? We're gonna just do some comedic stuff, and then we'll go back to some scary stuff. So here I got Gremlins 2, the new batch. Gremlins 1 from Steven Spielberg has that horror vibe to it, but this is the Joe Dante sequel, which is like another meta. It just has it's so different. It has the comedy vibe. That the first one had that horror and suspense vibe. This one has the comedy vibe, and they work at the business of the future where everything is automated. So it's just funny watching this one and just all the inside jokes, and this is a good one. Always love this one. Gremlins 2, the new batch. Another one I always loved from childhood, some people find this movie scary. I never found it scary. I just always loved this movie, is The Witches, based on the book from Roald Dahl, starring Angelica Houston as the Grand High Witch. The story of Luke, who goes to on vacation with his grandmother and runs into the witches who turn him and his friend Bruno into a mouse. Such a good movie. That awesome like dinner scene at the end, and the awesome meeting scene, and Mr. Bean is in this, Rowan Atkinson. Such a good movie. And this even got remade too with Anne Hathaway. Never saw it, no way, dude. But this one, I love this one, The Witches from 1990. I have a double feature here of Troll and Troll 2. I don't know Troll at all, but I do know Troll 2 because they played it on HBO all the time. Nilbog is spelled goblin backwards, and do you want some Joshua? Definitely the best worst movie, which is also included best worst movie, and an affectionate tribute to the single greatest bad movie ever made. Beloved by people all over the world for just how bad it is Troll 2. All right, now as we end this, let's get back on a serious vibe. And in the 90s, I got another double feature here. Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, both directed by Francis Ford Coppola, okay? I remember loving Frankenstein at the time with Robert De Niro and Kenneth Branagh and Helena Bonham Carter. Always really enjoyed that movie. Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's kind of hard to watch because Keanu Reeves is just really bad in that movie, but the visuals are great, so maybe one day I'll get into Dracula. I don't know, but I do love Frankenstein, and here is the double feature. And we're gonna end it with the master of horror himself, Stephen King, who brought us It and The Shining, and also Needful Things with Ed Harris and Max von Sydow, who plays the devil, who opens this antique shop in a small town, and Ed Harris is the sheriff. And yes, I love this movie. Another one that gets bad reviews unrightfully, and there's a famous TV cut which Kino Lorber just put out on 4K along with the TV cut. Haven't bought it yet. You can find it on YouTube. A great scene with Amanda Plummer and another lady who have a knife fight. I mean, this is a good movie. I like this movie from 1993, Needful Things. A famous Stephen King movie and a famous performance by Kathy Bates is Misery, also starring James Caan, who plays a writer who writes the Misery novels and then has a car accident, and then Annie Wilkes saves him and holds him hostage in her house while she takes care of him. People love this movie and praise Kathy Bates' performance, but of course I always talk about this next movie from Stephen King as well, is Dolores Claiborne. Not necessarily a horror movie, another one of these true life, true crime where it could be considered horror. It deals with domestic violence and murder, things of that nature. I love this movie. And another one that people just don't pay attention to because they actually say that she's playing the same part as she is in Misery, and that's not true at all. In fact, there's an interview on YouTube where Kathy Bates says that this is her favorite performance that she has played. Also, Christopher Plummer and John C. Reilly are in this, Jennifer Jason Leigh as well, and Kathy Bates in one of my favorite movies of all time. One of my favorite Stephen King films of all time is Dolores Claiborne. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me in this video of my complete horror movie collection on Blu-ray. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, guys, give it a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite horror movies are, what you have in your horror movie collection, and I will see you in the next video.